Welcome to today's session from Silos to Synergy, accelerating data innovation through self-service data products. This session is a level 200, and in this session, you'll learn more about how you can leverage your data and innovate with self-service data products. Before we welcome them onto the stage, if you haven't already, could you please download the AWS Summit app via the QR codes on the screen. Please join me in welcoming onto the stage Rizwan, as Senior Cloud Architect for AWS, followed by Serena, the Lead Enterprise Architect for ANZ Bank. Okay, all good, all yours. Enjoy.
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you are having a lot of fun at the AWS Summit this year. It's so great to see a room full of data pioneers, architects, and leaders. Raise your hand if you've ever heard the phrase, "We have data somewhere in our organization, but I just can't seem to find it, or I just can't access it for whatever security reasons." I see those hands, and those hands tell us the story of why we are here today. We are facing a paradox in the modern enterprise where we have more data than ever before, yet it remains frustratingly inaccessible to the people who need it most. Today, we are going to explore data mesh architecture on AWS and how this is transforming the landscape of data, moving organizations from fragmented data silos to a ecosystem of self-service data products. My name is Rizwan Wangde, and I'm a senior cloud architect from AWS Professional Services, and I work closely with enterprise customers such as ANZ Bank, on their modern data strategy, data governance, and in short, deriving business value from data. I'm excited to share the stage with Serena Yao, the lead enterprise architect from ANZ Bank, who will take us through the bank's data mesh journey with you. Whether you're just starting on your data mesh journey or already implementing it, our promise is simple. You will leave with actionable insights to accelerate your organization's data innovation. Let's get started. To begin with, we'll explore what the persistent data silos and their enterprise-wide challenges are. Next, we'll explore the evolution of data mesh architecture on AWS, tracking how this paradigm has matured within the AWS ecosystem. Then we'll examine security, but not as an afterthought, as a foundation that makes data mesh work. Serena will then share with you the data mesh journey at ANZ Bank, offering practical insights that you won't find in any white paper. Finally, we'll wrap up with key learnings you can apply immediately, no matter where you're in your data mesh journey at this point. So, in many enterprises, we see data is trapped in functional departments, or as we call them, silos, creating significant barriers to realizing business value from your data. These silos manifest in several critical ways. Customers tell us that they want to share data more conveniently between different lines of businesses while preserving their individual autonomy. However, there's limited visibility across organizational data. Teams simply don't know what data exists elsewhere in the organization that could easily benefit their work. This leads to a duplication of effort and inconsistent versions of truth. You must have heard different departments reporting different numbers for the same metric. Yes, this is why. The operational overhead becomes substantial as teams build custom one-off system integrations rather than following a cohesive framework. This directly impacts business agility as time to insights are delayed. Governance becomes nearly impossible as the data flow lacks transparency, and which also leads to compliance risks. Now, a data mesh architecture on AWS pattern directly addresses these challenges by distributing data ownership while maintaining governance. So, what is data mesh? Data mesh represents a paradigm shift in how we think about enterprise data architecture in today's world. Rather than centralizing all data centrally, which can take years to realize. It organizes around business domains, empowering teams to build and create their own data products while maintaining governance through lightweight central policies. Think of it as bringing product thinking to data, where quality, usability, and business value take center stage. At its core, data mesh is built on 4 key principles. Domain ownership of data shifts the responsibility of ownership to teams with true business context and not a central team anymore. Data as a product, treating data sets with the same care, documentation, and service level expectations as you would with a customer-facing product. Self-service data infrastructure empowers domains without really bothering about what's happening with the infrastructure layer. Federated governance provides just enough standardization while preserving autonomy. Quick question, how many of you face frustrating delays when accessing data from other parts of the business in your organization? Data mesh solves this by distributing both capability and responsibility for producing high-quality data products and data sharing throughout your organization, and it's not bottlenecked by a single team anymore. Let's take a look at how data mesh architecture has evolved on AWS in the last few years. Let's begin by acknowledging the governance backbone of any data platform on AWS, which is the Glue Data Catalog and Lake Formation. Now, the Glue Data Catalog serves as your unified metadata repository, right? A single source of truth that tracks all your data assets within a business domain or even at an organization level. Lake Formation builds on this foundation by adding sophisticated security controls, which manages your data access between your requester and your owner. So it's what allows us to implement the federated governance data mesh principle by establishing guardrails while enabling autonomy. I'm curious, how many of you have implemented row and column level security before Lake Formation? Right? Lake Formation makes this considerably more manageable at scale. Now, the data lineage and audit capabilities are equally important, especially in regulated industries. When a domain team publishes data, the Lake Formation essentially helps track where this data flows and who accesses it. And of course, the deep integration with your identity services means you can leverage your existing IAM roles, single sign-on, and Active Directory implementations. The governance foundation is critical because it is what enables us to safely distribute data ownership without creating security chaos. Here we see the first generation of the data mesh architecture on AWS, what I call the pre-data zone or the pre-SageMaker Unified Studio era. At 30,000 feet, this architecture looks straightforward. On the left, we have producer accounts, domain teams that are creating and publishing their own data products, right, based on their business expertise. And on the right, you have a set of consumer accounts representing teams that need access to this data to make their work easier. Connecting them in the center is the federated data governance account that houses the Lake Formation and the Glue catalog. The central account doesn't own the data, but it does provide the discovery mechanism and enforce governance policies across domain boundaries. Let's take a deeper look at what this architecture looks like. This architecture successfully implements the core data mesh principles, but required significant custom development and integration work. Teams needed to build their own discovery mechanisms and data quality frameworks, and even cross-account access patterns. The Glue catalog, although amazing, provides only technical metadata, but business context needed to be custom solutions. True self-service remained elusive because data producers still needed to understand what the infrastructure looked like underneath. These challenges didn't invalidate this architecture, and we have many organizations that have successfully built their data mesh around this way. But this did increase their implementation complexity and time to value. Now let's see how this architecture is simplified significantly with SageMaker Unified Studio and its catalog at the heart of our federated governance. Here's how simplified data sharing works. Producers publish data assets to the SageMaker catalog in just a few clicks. Consumers then hop onto this platform and are able to discover those assets and request access, all through the interface. Data owners then review and approve or reject this access request. And there is no IAM or lake formation code that needs to be written. For anyone who struggled with cross-account access control, this is a real game changer. Robust security, but with all the complexity hidden away. What makes SageMaker Catalog so special? This catalog is built on DataZone and is integrated with the SageMaker Unified Studio now. The SageMaker Catalog automates the complex lake formation permissioning between multiple accounts, between your consumer and between your producer, right? Which is always the biggest friction point in a data mesh, which is manual permission management. It provides robust governance metadata layer that includes data lineage, data quality, metadata forms, and business glossary, all in one place. No custom solutions required anymore. You can securely discover and access not only your data products, but also your machine learning models, GenAI assets, and compute layer. Now, let's shift to securing your data mesh on AWS, beyond just lake formation. Let's examine how authentication and authorization works with SageMaker Unified Studio. The Studio integrates seamlessly with your existing identity providers like Okta, Azure AD, Ping, or any external IDP providers. This is so that data mesh can leverage your organization's user management and group structures. This seamless integration is made possible through Identity Center, IAM Identity Center, that provides a centralized and a secure way for users to access AWS resources. Once the users are authenticated, they are then able to log on to the domain portal, which is the gateway to your data mesh experience. Once user's identity is authenticated, it is then mapped to a domain unit, and authorization policies are checked, determining if the user is a domain admin or if it's a project owner or a contributor, each with their own level of access. So as you can see on the screen, once your domain units are created, you can easily create and assign these authorization policies at a domain unit level for users and groups within the interface. It's as simple as that. Now, domain units in SageMaker Unified Studio maps directly to your organizational structure, each representing a business domain with unique data expertise. These domain units are governance boundaries and not just labels, with clear authorization policies that control who can access data, who can own data, who can publish the data products, who can create and update metadata forms, business glossary. So this balances autonomy with governed standards. Now, we've already seen how consumers gain access by sending a subscription request, and how the data owners review this request based on their governance policies and then grant or reject this request, right? The most important part is also that the data owners can implement a fine-grained access control through row and column filtering on that particular data asset, which makes sharing only what is needed and nothing more. In short, we've designed this to be secure by default, but without the typical but without the typical friction that comes with cross-account data sharing. Now, what I love about the modern data mesh architecture using the SageMaker Unified Studio is the clean separation of resources using the concept of associated accounts. Now, if you've attended Josh's session just before this, we saw the complete demo of an end-to-end process of how data is brought into SageMaker Unified Studio and how it is shared within the SageMaker Unified Studio domains. Now, when your data domain teams create transformation or analytics workloads within the construct of a project, these live in their own associated accounts. So in this case, it's a producer. So all the resources related to a project are created within that associated account or your producer account, and not in the federated governance account. Now, this prevents your governance account from being a bottleneck, right? And truly preserves domain autonomy. And the security model, it's seamless. When your data team needs access to the data from your producer's account, all you need to do is grant the required access to the project's IAM role, and you'll simply start seeing these tables or these objects within your project in the SageMaker Unified Studio. This maintains least privilege access while giving your data teams a frictionless experience. So, and now, I'm excited to welcome Serena, who will take you inside ANZ Bank's real-world data mesh journey. Serena, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Riz, for clearly framing the challenge of data silo and how AWS supports data mesh. I hope everyone can hear me. Hi, my name is Serena Yao. I'm a divisional architect at ANZ Institutional. At ANZ, our purpose is to shape a world where people and communities thrive. Our data mesh journey helps us step through delivering that purpose every day. The premise of our journey started with challenging the concept of centralized data models. While, well, completely well-intentioned, it slows us down and it does erode trust in the data in itself. Fast forward, the data mesh concept really started to resonate, a way to unlock value faster without compromising on governance. This morning, at the keynote, I took away something, and it was a challenge. And the challenge that was said by Tim Maloney was how to demonstrate real business value without committing significant investment. We're currently living in interesting times where it's an AI-centric discussion, large language models, MCP, agent-to-agent frameworks. But our focus is to lower the TCO cost by focusing on high-quality, standardized enterprise data, which accelerates innovation as well as considering it as healthy foundations. Imagine a round table, like a G8 or a D20. Each seat belongs to a domain. In banking, these are products, credit, sales, each with its own constitution, but part of a shared community. In our mesh, domains align through shared charters. Take, for example, customer ID. Every domain needs it, but it's actually thought about it differently depending on the domain or used differently. But it's there. We probably will, sorry. So I'll walk you through this 5 key enablers on effective decentralization. So we've got some core data platforms, which is a shared infrastructure, but completely provides the freedom to self-service for the domains to define preferences. This means accessibility to central access control patterns, orchestration, and security. Bootstrapping domains where infrastructure is provisioned in minutes, as opposed to weeks or months, as we're using infrastructure as code. Now, there's centralized services as well, but this is about setting clear boundaries. We define what's central and what domains can control. Continuous improvement is about a feedback loop that drives platform evolution, and the 5 pillars provide the foundation and how we actually deliver on this in practice. We named ours IDAP. the institutional data and analytics platform. It's not just infrastructure, it's our operating model to balance domain autonomy with platform-level alignment. Now, I'm going to talk about how this framework influences how our teams interact. Firstly, it empowers domain teams to create and manage their own data products. Secondly, it puts data ownership in the hands of domain experts who truly understands the data's context. Now, the organic path takes these data products into cross-team consumption, and the data products leads to eventual improvement of the data quality iterations. Now, on the last plane, the mesh plane, it eliminates traditional bottlenecks by reducing the dependency on central teams. The domains choose the tools and processes that best fit in their needs, which we consider this as the true mesh experience. I'd like to take you through the producer side of this diagram, which you've seen before. And the 5 key challenges we've addressed is about cross-account permission complexity, fine-grained access control, drift and policy enforcement, data classification and encryption, and lastly, secure analytics. So the first dot we've got is across account sharing. It's about managing lake formation grants across accounts, and these was a little bit tedious. We now use RAM shares scoped to tags so that new tables with correct tags are automatically available to consumers. Now, fine-grained access control is more about, for us on sensitive data like a PII or a PCI data, we use attribute-based access control, and in regional and in dynamic session tags via the identity center. The use cases for this are like a relationship manager seeing their customers that they should do, and the regional team seeing data on their region or on their country. Now, we catch schema drift at pipeline, and the fourth part is we declare sensitivity and treatment in contracts, glue jobs, scan columns, and calls our encryption as a service. And to apply format preserving encryption, we do this without handling any keys by domain teams. Our encrypted values land in the curated zone, and we're ready for secure sharing. Sorry. Lastly, we've got Tableau Cloud. By default, sorry, my bad. For Tableau Cloud, by default, it queries Athena over the internet. So we worked with Tableau to implement AWS Private Link and keeping traffic on the AWS backbone. That gives us a performant and secure structure, and all access rules are still in effect. Now, this slide is really what ties everything together. Our data strategy combines the power of 2, a data mesh for decentralized ownership and domain-aligned teams, and a platform layer respecting data fabric principles. We implement centralized governance, reusable service, metadata-first pipelines, and policy-driven automation. The objective is simple. We enable independent domain operation with shared platform capabilities. SageMaker Unified Studio offers us a federated development at scale for varied practitioners from engineers to citizen scientists. Now, we started with our foundations of domain-specific lakehouses, Iceberg without optimization, manual data contracts, and now at Lakehouse 2.0, we mature our utility into open lineage for lineage tracking, multi-layer access, and reusable CI/CD patterns at our pipelines, and last but not least, having a unified AI foundry. So where are we going? We're well on our way to have our processes significantly simplified by adopting native services via SageMaker Unified Studio. This means it's AI-enhanced data quality, metadata lineage, centralized feature stores, and advanced enablement for our data scientists. Now, SageMaker Unified Studio also offers us accelerated enablement for skilled data and AI engineers. This benefits the extended business-aligned data practitioners and emerging citizen data scientists. Now, IDAP with SageMaker Unified Studio helps us strike the right balance. Autonomy where it really matters, alignment where it really counts. That's what we believe that enables trust at scale. Thank you for listening to me, and now I hand back to my very good friend Riz to take you through key learnings.
Thank you, Serena. I bet that was an amazing insight into the world of ANZ Bank and what we're doing with data mesh. As we wrap, I want to leave you with some key learnings from our data mesh journey that you can apply regardless of where you are with your implementations. One, data mesh requires both technical and cultural transformation. The tools are important, but shifting the mindsets from a data ownership perspective is equally critical. Second, value emerges with when we bring people, processes, and technology all together. Invest in data product thinking. Train teams to create well-documented, high-quality data products, not just data sets. Start with usability and build for sustainability. If it's hard to use, no one's going to use it. And we've seen this time and again. Start small with high value and low complexity business domains so that you can build momentum very easily. Autonomy requires guardrails. However, guardrails should be enablers and not blockers from achieving your true business value. Establish clear ownership boundaries between domains to prevent confusion and duplication of effort. With that, I would like to thank you so much for attending our session today. And if you've got any questions around data mesh or what we are doing at ANZ Bank, please feel free to find us on the floor and have a chat with us. Thank you again, and enjoy the rest of your summit.